Welcome back to Behind the Gate. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Natalie Crawford, Director of Operations at Middletown Veterinary Hospital in Delaware. After more than a decade in corporate America, she made the leap back into veterinary medicine, bringing with her a business lens most practices never get to see. Her mix of corporate strategy and private practice reality gives her a unique perspective on what's broken in the industry and what it's going to take to fix it. We're going to dig into the operational pain points clinics face, how systems, not just willpower, can keep teams from burning out, and where tools like automation and AI might actually make a difference without becoming another burden. Dr. Crawford, please introduce yourself and what you do.
Thanks. Dr. Natalie Crawford, thank you so much for having me. I've been a vet for over 20 years. In the last few years, I've been focusing on veterinary pathology, but then also recently decided to make a little bit of a shift and move more into coaching, leadership coaching, transformation coaching, in addition to part-time working as an operations director at a veterinary hospital. So had quite a few different things that I've done, but really now kind of splitting my time between the coaching and operations work.
Since you spent over a decade in corporate America before coming back into veterinary practice, what pushed you to return?
Yeah, so I think it was a slow push. I really enjoyed my time that I spent in corporate America, mostly because I really enjoyed the people that I worked with. As I started making changes into different roles within corporate America, the shift from what I was enjoying working with people really started to change. As I started getting into broader leadership roles, I feel like you start seeing behind the curtain a bit more. I was getting further and further away from my roots, which was veterinary medicine. I didn't quite realize at the time that that was really what it was. I wanted to be making an impact broadly, but also individually. But I didn't feel like I was doing that quite as much. I really wanted to get back to what was more my purpose, which is making impact broadly, but individually at a time. I just wasn't getting the opportunity to do that as much.
What have you carried forward from that corporate world that actually helps in vet med?
Oh gosh, so much. I grew tremendously working in corporate America. The biggest thing I gained was all of my people skills. I tell people I became a vet because I didn't like people, and that's what I wanted. But when I got into corporate America and the various roles that I was doing, I realized I was really good at connecting with people, and I actually really liked it. That has really helped propel me into every facet of my life, but specifically into private practice, where it is very individual touch and wanting to make these individual impacts to both customers as well as to employees. So that's the biggest thing I've taken and also have just grown. I would say also just all of my skills in facilitation, presentation, leading projects, leading teams, doing that at such a large scale has really helped me as I've moved back into smaller private practice.
Mm. So you're at Middletown Veterinary
I
Hospital
am,
and you're the
I
director of
am, yes.
operations. What surprised you the most about the day to day reality compared to what you expected when you came back in?
So I had been away from private practice for over 15 years. I think a lot was the same, but what I realized that was different was the change in pressures of economy, pressures of business, pressures of just the changing world. I've noticed that small practices have been able to keep some of that old school charm. At the same time, so much has changed and is changing constantly in the world. I felt this in corporate America too. I worked for a company that was more family owned as well, not keeping up with all of the changes, specifically maybe the technologies, the processes, right? So kind of scaling fast or scaling slowly, but then at one point you realize, oh my gosh, we scaled from small to
Hmm.
large and just not having everything in place to keep up with that,
Hmm.
which again has its charm and its positives and obviously causes challenges.
Right. Where are the biggest cracks you see in private practice operations?
So the biggest cracks, I think one of the biggest, well, there's kind of two things. The overarching, I think, is just burnout of people in general. That's everywhere. That is the workforce. I hate to say it. It's not just private practice. The burnout is caused by employee availability. One of the biggest things is actually getting enough people to work. How there's a lot of jobs out there, but not a lot of people that
Mhm.
seem to want to come and work. I think that's one thing. I think also it's just, again, all the changing world around us. I remember we used to say at my previous job, bring your full self to work. And we wanted people to bring their full self to work. But I think because we have so many pressures outside of, people truly are bringing their full self, which means everything to work, which I think sometimes compounds upon and doesn't allow people to really focus and really be able to do what they need to do at work and then be able to go home. So I think it's just a combination of mostly from an employee standpoint, right? And just them not having the tools they need, but then also just the systems they need, all of that. And it's causing burnout,
That
which is sad.
word, it's burnout,
Mm-hmm.
and it tends
Mm-hmm.
to fall back on, like you said, employees, because when you aren't fully staffed, you have the remaining staff members carrying the load,
Mm-hmm.
muscle through for so long before you just start to
Mm-hmm.
fit. So, private practices fight to stay profitable without pricing out clients.
Mm-hmm.
From where you are, is that where tension is kind of brutal? It's like the trade off between profits and clients and the things that nobody's really talking about.
I think definitely profit is a big thing. The practice I'm at is dedicated to the community. And so that's one thing that I appreciate, really trying to keep things feasible for the community and not outpricing the community, recognizing that people are going through a hard time, but people also still have pets and that their pets are an important part of their mental health and their family. Though profit is a component of it for sure, I don't necessarily see us making a lot of changes and trying to keep up with the profits and make sure clients, they can't afford things. So, but I definitely do know that that is a challenge, right? Everything is going up in cost, right? Like even supplies, all of that, needing and wanting to pay employees fairly, all of that. And then also people coming in and not wanting to pay more for the various services. So I think profit is a big thing, but I will say, what I appreciate is the practice trying to keep it where people can still pay for and still have pets and still allow pets to be a part of their family. And that is a big thing that they do. And I appreciate that. And I know it likely does probably drive down profits a
Mhm.
bit, but it also keeps customer loyalty as well.
Right. Is there room in your clinic for growth?
We have just grown recently. So there's room for growth in bringing in more people.
More client or
We
more
have more staff. I think we have a lot of
Mhm.
clients. I think we probably sometimes aren't getting the clients in as quickly as we'd like to because we don't have enough people. As far as clients, we have a lot. I think it's the expansion we recently done of having new buildings and having new services, getting enough people to maintain the quality of service we're used to giving
Yeah.
availability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having enough people.
Is it your community? Are you in a I'm not familiar with Middletown. Is it a small community where you just don't have a
So it's a community, we are about an hour outside of Philadelphia, but also an hour and a half outside of the Baltimore, DC area. We are considered rural because we are not next to a city. However, this community, and I've lived here almost 13 years, has grown from, having maybe one high school, maybe one or two elementary schools to now up to four high schools, 15 elementary school. I mean, in the last 10 years, it has grown and we have people coming in from all over. It is a large community. I'm getting plenty of applicants, but when I reach out to the applicants, I'm not getting a lot of people respond back. There's something about people saying they want to apply and work, but then it's not coming to fruition. So I think we have a good pool of people,
Mm,
just not sure what's not bringing people in the door. I have plenty of people that I can interview. It just depends on them reaching back.
right. Vellum's
Yeah.
mantra is systems beat willpower. You've
Mm.
seen systems make the difference between chaos and calm in your clinic.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest, and I'm not afraid to share that I use AI for different
Mm,
things. For me, I use AI to take a lot of big concepts that I have and try to pull them down into packaging. Because I think what I find is that, especially with a lot of the work that I'm doing, I want to put together a lot of stuff quickly, but I don't necessarily have the creative brain all the time to actually put all the words and all of that. But I know what I want to say. I know how I want to put it together. I just need something else to help me package it. And I tend to use it a lot to actually help me package ideas and thoughts together so that I can create documents quickly to share before I spend the time really getting into the nitty gritty. So kind of throwing out the idea, putting the framework, and then I will fill in the details. But that's a lot of the work that I do is trying to set up a processes and systems. Like I said, trying to work through hiring right now, having a good, consistent hiring process that allows us to track who we have seen before, who we've interviewed, and all that. But also, I want it to be a good experience for any applicant, right? Like I said, right now, we have a lot of applicants, but if people aren't responding, anybody that responds, I want them to have a good experience
Right.
because I know it's hard out there to find a job. And so the people that are reaching back and are interested, I want them to have a good experience. So being methodical and consistent and having something to keep me organized, I need things like
Hmm.
that. That's where I see the technology coming
Hmm.
in and utilizing it. I use it a lot. I write a lot of documents. I put a lot of things together and I need it to be done quickly.
Hmm.
Very
Well, I
helpful.
think I know
Yeah.
the answer to my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because you know,
Okay.
if you could wave a
Uh,
wand and automate one painful process tomorrow, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. One painful process is our schedule. Automating our schedule and making it where it can pull in all the various pieces of information, who's off, who works what roles, who works different times, all of that, and putting into something that allows us to quickly throw out a schedule
Mhm.
for the employees so they actually know far enough in advance so they can plan their
Mhm.
lives, when they're working, where they're working, inclusive of being able to account for the shortages that we have as well. So that would definitely be what I would automate. It would be the schedule
Even
for sure.
staffing, the hiring process.
I love hiring. I enjoy the hiring process. I enjoy connecting with people. And so, like, even yesterday, I was interviewing 7 people. And I love that. I love talking to people. I love all that. I love doing the responses. So that's not for me so bad. Maybe it's because I'm working in a smaller clinic. We're large enough, but I'm only hiring upwards of maybe 5 people at most at a
Mhm.
time. If I was doing more,
Mhm.
I could see the value and the need to maybe automate it a little
Mhm.
bit more.
Is your business seasonal at all? Because when you think about you can actually
Mhm.
use how busy you were in the past to somewhat predict the staff that you're going to need. You guys
Yeah.
do ancillary services like boarding, then AI could even help you further with your staffing than just
Yes.
doing a schedule.
We are less seasonal from a hospital setting, but more seasonal from a boarding setting. And so this, I would say our schedule that I'm talking about mostly is in our hospital area. And so we don't see as much of the seasonality in the hospital. I feel like only seasonality we do see, right, is we're starting to get closer and closer to the holidays. You start to see people kind of cut back a bit. But at the same time, that's the same time where we end up being the busiest because for some reason, people come in a lot more. People don't want to spend as much, but you have more clients come in. It's this weird.
Mm.
I often say, as people are getting closer to the holidays, they're getting closer to family coming over. They really start paying attention to what's really going on with their pets.
Mhm.
And so we tend to be busier as you get closer to the holidays. People are home, they're spending more time with their pet, really getting a chance to see what's going on. And those are the times that they're really realizing, like, oh gosh, you're not the same as you were a year ago,
Yeah.
right? It's those check-ins that we often
Yeah.
use. So we tend to be busy, but at the same time, people don't want to spend as
Yeah.
much during
Yeah.
that time because they want to be able to spend money for the holidays.
Probably keeps us inside a little bit more and you have more
Yeah.
opportunity. If the
Yeah.
veterinary industry keeps doing business as usual, what's at risk in the next 5 to 10 years?
One of the largest, in addition to employee shortage, like where we are located, and I think it's across the country, there's a veterinary shortage
Mhm.
as well. Years and years ago, so I've been out of school 20, over 20 years, maybe 25 years. Even when I was coming out of school, we were starting to see that shift from where it used to be more of like a male dominated field to a female dominated field. Fast forwarding 25 years later, we still are seeing a female dominated field, but we also know that what women want to do from a standpoint of how they're living is changing. In general, we're seeing fewer and fewer people go into veterinary medicine or stay in veterinary medicine. I know in our area that's been a topic across the country. Veterinary shortage is something that's been a topic as well, probably for multiple reasons. My assumption is some of it has to do with changes in how people want to spend their time, that work life balance. I think is definitely playing a part as well.
Mm. Imagine veterinary
Yeah.
hospitals 5 years from now. What changes, cultural, operational, or technological, do you hope we will have embraced?
I think definitely technology,
Mhm.
right? Having more technology to run a lot of stuff behind the scenes, both from, like I said, scheduling, but billing, all those different things. Anything that sometimes takes the person out of having to do some of those background
Mhm.
things to allow the vets and the support staff to really focus on the clients and the pets. I think that's one thing. I think also for me, I would want us, maybe I'm a little partial in this, but there's a huge shift from private practices to a lot of corporate veterinary medicine. I love the private practice feel, the small family feel. So I guess what I hope for is that we don't get rid of small animal practices that are owned by families and those type of things. I think there's still charm in that. I think that balance could remain. I do hope there is a shift where people get back to seeing veterinary medicine as a destination and a career, and that we don't continue to see the shortage of that.
Mhm.
It would be nice to have some type of rebound of that, right? And that we continue to be able to bring new vets out. They love the profession, they stay in the profession, and that we can continue to keep veterinary medicine as it is in that way too.
I would agree with you completely. It's nice to walk into a clinic and feel like you're in their clinic, not just
Yeah.
any big box kind
Yeah,
of clinic.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I might be the minority in that. You and I both might be, but I love it. There's something about connection to me that is super important. Having fewer and fewer layers to the top, I hate to say the
Mhm.
top, right? Makes it more personal, makes you able to make changes more quickly,
Right.
and allows you to keep things the way you want a little bit
Mhm.
better, a little bit
Yep.
easier.
So for practice owners that are listening who feel like they're drowning, what is one
Mhm.
system or mindset shift that you would urge them to start with today?
I think one of the biggest things I always think of is how do you balance profit with employee morale? And trying to find ways to figure that out. You already mentioned it earlier. Fewer people, you're working those people harder
Mhm.
so that you can make the profit, but recognizing that at some point people break also, right? And so for me, I think that's the biggest is when we get stressed and we get uncomfortable, we tend to push the people first before we think about how could we shift and adjust the profit side. I get it. A business is about making money, but I always say a business can't make money if it doesn't have people, right? If you don't have the people to drive it, then you're not going to make money either. So I think that's it. Like finding that balance. It's always going to shift back and forth, but not losing track of the fact that the people are important. You don't have to overdo it on the people part, but making sure that is a component of what you're continuing to consider as you think about profit and making changes.
Before we close, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave with people who are in the thick of it and running through the working of the practice today?
Yeah, I'm a huge optimist, right? I really do always say, and I say to people, I say to my kids, I say to other young people in STEM, like, just stay the course. Right now, whatever you're doing, you may be in a phase where you're in a valley, right? But there's always valleys, but there's always hills as well. And so staying the course, as long as you know your purpose and sticking to that, I always feel like things will change, things will pass. Don't give up too quickly. It's a message of encouragement. Stay encouraged, and if you feel like you can't stay encouraged on your own, reach out to others and help them help you stay encouraged. Because I think that's the worst thing we can do is actually allow ourselves to get discouraged when we see things changing, when we see things not going our way. We set out to do things for a reason and remember what that reason was and think back to it. That's part of my story of getting back to veterinary medicine. It really reminded me of what my purpose was. Because I have that purpose, I feel like I can move through just about anything. Doesn't mean I don't have challenges, but I know that I have a purpose to keep moving
Yeah.
forward.
It sounds like you have such a wonderful gift for the people and the animals. Thank
Yeah,
you for doing
yeah,
what where can listeners go if they
absolutely.
wanna connect with you or learn more about your work?
Absolutely. So I am in the process of relaunching my coaching business, which I'm super excited about. I've been focusing a lot more on leadership over the last year. I can share a link if people want to connect with me to discuss opportunities for transformational coaching. I do consulting as well. How do we work better with people and leadership and all that? My main goal is coaching, leadership and helping people going through any type of transformation or transition in a career or life standpoint. I can drop the link, or if you could drop the link, Kira, they can connect with me and I'd be happy to talk with them.
Absolutely. Yep. I'll put that in the description. Well, thank you so much
Yeah,
for joining us today. I appreciate your time and your thoughts.
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to Behind the Gate, where we get real about what it takes to run and sustain a pet business today. If you found this conversation helpful, share it with someone else in the industry who might need it. And you can watch every episode on our YouTube channel. If you're ready to make your own business a little lighter and a lot more efficient, learn more about what we do at vellum-agency.com. See you next time.